Hey guys, it's Carmen and welcome back to the channel. If you guys did not know, I go to the University of Iowa and this year I'm going to be going into my second year. That does mean that I have completed 1 year of college and I feel like I've gone through a lot. Starting college is a big milestone and I know that a lot of people are worried going into it, and that definitely included myself. So in this video, I'm going to be giving you guys a few pieces of advice that I would give to incoming freshmen going into college. Oh, it's at 2%. That's great. My first piece of advice is to make sure that all of your electronics stay charged for class. Luckily, I do have both an iPad and a computer, so I'm just gonna pull up my little MacBook here. Okay, I separated all my pieces of advice into 4 different categories. We have roommates, dorm, classes, and friends and activities. So let's get started with roommate advice. There are a few different ways that you can choose your roommates if you decide to have one. At Iowa, you can do a single, you can do a double, you can do a triple. I think there's a few suites that you can do, or you can live off campus. I know a lot of colleges you have to live in the dorms first year. I personally went into college with a roommate picked out. I chose to live with my cousin, Valerie. Love you so much. But we got a pretty bad number for our dorm selection number, so we ended up having to go with a triple. It just goes by a first come, first serve bias, so the sooner you commit to the college and fill out housing application, that's how they kind of decide who gets to pick their dorm first. So we were in a triple. I was living with me and Val, and then a random roommate came into our dorm. If you don't already have a friend that's in your dorm, you can do a random roommate like we kind of had to do, or you can go on one of the many Instagram pages that they make for each college to get to know someone else who you might have the same interest in, and then DM them, get to know them, and pick them as your roommate. My advice would be to get into contact with your roommates before you get to college, get to know them, get to know their interests, get to know kind of what they want the dorm relationship to be. Do they want friends to be able to stay over all the time, family, significant others? When do they go to bed? When do they wake up? How early are your classes going to be? It's helpful to plan a meetup beforehand. That way you can get to know them a little bit better face to face, because I do feel like after my first year and going through a random roommate, a lot of things that were said over text or over the phone were not true when we got in person. I'd assume other colleges have a thing kind of like Iowa where you have a profile and it gives a little bit of a rundown of what you want dorm behavior and relationships to look like, but if not, that's when talking and getting to know your roommate does come in handy. This is also a time where you can communicate what kind of dorm essentials you want to split up, because you yourself buying all of the necessities for your dorm isn't really going to work. If you don't talk about it beforehand, you're going to end up with multiples, and then that's just a waste of money. Who's going to buy the fridge? Who's going to buy the microwave? What about the sofa? That kind of things. That's all super helpful to talk about before you even get to college. Speaking of random roommates, I would just be very, very careful when deciding to do a random roommate. I was definitely someone who's like, oh, I'm super flexible, I can get along with everyone and anyone, when I'm thinking, oh, this is totally going to be fine. Like, obviously we're not going to be 100% similar, but at the end of the day, it's gonna be okay. I know that it does work out sometimes, and there's a lot of people that I've found really good friends through random roommates. My third roommate freshman year, that was not the case. Started off fine, everybody's super smiley and friendly, and then you start kind of getting comfortable and speaking your mind and all that jazz. Me and Valerie, my chosen roommate, we were more the kind of type where it's like, oh, let's leave the door open to meet new friends, let's invite friends over, let's get ready with our friends, family come over. Very social, I'd say, and our third roommate was just the opposite of that. Not a bad thing, just those clash. And the biggest thing that I realized is that you can't live with anybody. Yes, you can get along with everyone, but you're not gonna be able to live with just anyone. Ended up becoming kind of awkward and unusual, and there was a few things that happened that made living in that first dorm uncomfortable, so me and Val decided to move to another dorm second semester in a completely other residence hall. That random roommate was 10 million times better than the first one. We had a lot of things in common. We hung out outside of just like living together, and all in all, it just ended up being great. So that just goes to show that sometimes it does work out and sometimes there are horror stories, and I'm not gonna tell my specific story right now about my kind of horror story, but just know it doesn't always work out. Set boundaries with your roommates early on. That kind of goes along with the whole like personalities clashing type thing. But at the end of the day, you could be living with your best friend. I do, and I'm going to again. I'm living with Val again. But there are certain things that, you know, we're gonna have to talk about, like when do we want lights out to be? Who's doing what chores? What kind of stuff are you comfortable with your roommate using? Like for me and Val, like we're so close, we share each other's clothes, but some people don't like doing that. So there's definitely things to talk about, and I would do that early on so that no one's getting each other's feelings hurt or crossing those boundaries. Like, you already have that ground rule kind of laid down. Living with each other in close proximity all the time will cause disagreements. Like I said, I live with my best friend. We're still best friends, but there are tiffs that you're going to get in. It's kind of inevitable, and some people are able to kind of brush it off their shoulder, bury it down inside, just kind of be like, whatever, like, doesn't matter. But some people are very confrontational, and like I said, when you're living in close proximity with each other and you're both super young, you're hormonal, like you're going through college and these changes, and life's just hard and emotional sometimes. You're gonna have disagreements. So just be ready to deal with conflict, be able to forgive, go in with an open mind, be able to see from another person's perspective. Just remember that everything is gonna be okay, and everybody around you is kind of going through the same thing that you're going through. Everybody's struggling in their own type of way. Not that you're struggling in college all the time. Okay, now we're gonna talk about some dorm advice. There are a few things that I personally think are lifesavers when you are living in the dorms. First off is a water filter. For me, I love my home water, and I know a lot of people agree with me as well, where it's like home water is the best water in the world, and anywhere else you go, water just sucks. So bring a water filter. Iowa City water is kind of gross to me, so having that is a lifesaver. Also, get something to clean your floors with. No matter what, no matter how clean you are, your floors are gonna get dirty. You're walking in from the outdoors. We have gross winters in Iowa, so no matter what, floors are gonna get dirty. We ended up getting a really good vacuum that has worked really well, as well as a Swiffer, so that it's kind of like a double clean, I guess. One thing that I feel like no one really talks about is the air vents. I know some dorms don't have air conditioners, and I really apologize and pray for all of you guys, but every dorm in Iowa has an air conditioner / heater. The air vents get absolutely disgusting and grows mold, black mold. We could see it in our air filter. That's what was getting all of us sick during the first semester. Once we realized that that was kind of like the main culprit, we were getting it changed like every few weeks and everyone was fine. So that's probably one of my biggest pieces of advice, is literally just look in your air vent, look at that air filter. If it looks dirty, just call maintenance. At Iowa, they have free resources where you can call like a maintenance guy and they'll just come in and change it. Utilize it, because again, that will save your life and save you from so much sickness. Always keep your dorm key on you. Ours just comes on a little lanyard, it goes on your wrist, but like if you don't have it with you, you're kind of screwed. Even if you're just going to the bathrooms, you never know when like another roommate's gonna come in and then leave right away and lock you out, especially if they don't know if you're even home. So literally just take it with you everywhere. That goes also for your ID card. I know for Iowa, and I'm assuming most other colleges, that's literally your ticket to get into like the residence hall, the dining halls, the gym. I don't even know. Some colleges may have that for like classrooms too. I have no idea. Just bring your key and your ID card with you everywhere you go. Walls are very thin in residence halls, so make sure you're just being really mindful. I never got a specific complaint about like when I was living in a dorm. I know that sometimes me and Val would just like burst into song, and that was probably annoying. But especially late at night, early in the mornings, like don't be screaming, don't be blasting music, don't be jumping on the ground. Like we had an incident. Here's kind of a funny story. Our second semester, we were in Burge, and there were these people who like every single night at like 11 p.m. it would sound like they're like jumping off their bed, like just over and over again. They were jumping off their bed, and it was just like bang, 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 bang. And we were like, we had no idea what it was. And after so long, like it was interfering with our sleep. So we wrote a little note and slid it under their door, and they eventually ended up giving us a note back, and it was like, oh, we kickbox. Why are you kickboxing at 11 o'clock at night? Like, no shame. I'm glad you kickbox and are getting your exercise and everything, but don't be doing it at 11 p.m. Like, people are trying to sleep. Just be mindful of that. Also, always have like an emergency meal and snacks in your dorm room. You never know when the dining halls are going to be closed. I ate pretty much every single meal in the dining halls, but like if there's a bad storm, if you know you stay a day later when a break is starting, or come back a day earlier when a break is starting and the dining halls are closed, you're gonna want to have something in your dorm that you can just eat. Snacks are also a lifesaver, because dining halls are only open from this time to this time, and if you're hungry after that, you're screwed. So just have some food. They can be healthy, they can be unhealthy, just have something. This next one is not really a secret, but freshman sickness is no joke. Oh, hi buddy. You're going to a place where you're living with literally hundreds of other teenagers in such close proximity. So many people are coming from so many different places. If one person gets sick, it's really easy to spread it to one person, then another person, and then it's just like contagious diseases spread like wildfire. And these sicknesses definitely hit some harder than others. Like Val, my roommate, I swear she was sick every single week. And I was sick maybe a couple times this year. I don't really get sick though. So make sure you have medicine and remedies in your dorm already so that you're not gonna have to go run out to the store and get any. You're able to just like have it there. I know some big things that helped with us, obviously like Tylenol, ibuprofen, that kind of stuff, but also like vitamin C water, electrolytes, Tums, NyQuil. NyQuil was my biggest thing. If my like sleeping conditions aren't perfect, I already have problems falling asleep, but if like my throat's dry or I'm coughing a lot, like it's really hard for me to fall asleep. So NyQuil's a big saver. And I'd say if you're gonna have NyQuil, also have DayQuil, because NyQuil really makes you drowsy, especially if you're using it night after night after night. I fell asleep in one class, so use DayQuil as well, or some sort of like wake upper, I guess. There are a lot of on-campus resources as well, because again, freshman sickness and college sickness is not a secret. So use the free student health care, go to the free nurse, utilize that stuff. That goes for a lot of different things, not just like health. There's like therapists, there's advisors, so many resources in general that you guys can use. Okay, our next category is classes. Obviously, you're going to college to get your continuing education classes, so just remember that you're literally paying for these classes. So everybody's always saying this, but like go to class and study. That's literally all you have to do, read your books. You're paying for these classes, as long as you go to class and study a little bit, you should have no problem passing. It's when you stop showing up or are not paying attention in class even, or not studying whatsoever for these classes, that's when you're gonna struggle. And that's when you hear about people dropping out or being kicked out, blah, blah, blah. Freshman year is a lot of general education and foundation classes, which seems easier, but don't be fooled. Gen ed classes are like hard for no reason. And I'm saying that as like someone who was in high school as an honors and AP student. Like gen ed classes are genuinely kind of hard. So just be prepared to those. Give those some attention as well. Also study for those. Don't just be like, oh, these are gen eds, they don't really matter. Like not really in like the grand scheme of things, especially if you're like have your major planned out and you're on that road and you know you're gonna stick there, but you never know what kind of gen ed is gonna spark some interest or give you a connection to a professor that can give you a letter of recommendation. Like all of college matters, and just remember that you're there for a reason. You're paying for your classes. Rate my professor is a good way to see what classes would be interesting and what classes are bad to take. Maybe you'd be like, oh my god, like this class sounds so interesting, like I'm really interested in environmental human impacts on the environment type thing, but the professor just sucks and he doesn't give two craps about you. You're just a number to him. You're giving him his money, you're paying his bill. So Rate My Professor shows you what teachers are good and what classes would be good for you to take. Use that. Also, don't make the mistake I did and do not take the max amount of credits that you can take. I did that second semester and I quite literally cried over school more than I think I've ever cried over school, because not only was I taking max credits, I was also taking like STEM and weed out classes, so they weren't just all gen eds or anything. So be mindful, especially if you want to have like a life outside of school and like be involved in clubs, have a night off, go out, that kind of stuff. Just don't do it. Take like 15, 16 semester hours. I don't know what it is for everyone, but don't take the max amount. Also, that being said, I did go through a couple weed out classes my first year. Don't let those get you down. Like, just remember that they're weed out classes for a reason. I'm in a pre-health major, which means like I'm in school with a lot of pre-dental, pre-med, pre-PT, pre-vet, pre people. There's a lot more people that are in the major than there are that are actually going to be able to become dentists, doctors, vets, all that jazz. So let your passion for what your major is shine through with those weed out classes, and that goes for like business and all the other majors that you can be as well. It's gonna be hard, expect it to be, but show up, let your passion shine through, and if at the end of the day you're like, oh, I hate my life, I don't really want to do this, pick a different major. There's nothing wrong with that. People change their major all the time. If you have to do that, don't get down on yourself for it, because the last thing you'd want to do is spend your life doing something that you're not going to like. So if you really are really like, I really don't like this, change your major. But if it's just like, oh, this is really hard, don't let them get you down. Like, you can do it. You can get through it. It's going to be so rewarding at the end of the day, but don't let it discourage you from doing what you want to do. Also, as I had pointed out at the beginning of the video, I do have a MacBook and an iPad. When I first started off my freshman year, I just had this iMac. This is the iMac Air 13-inch Apple computer. I swear by Apple. I will always suggest people to get Apple. It is more expensive, but I feel like it's worth it in the long run, because I'm not only using this for school, I'm using it to send emails, I'm using it to watch TV, I'm using it for literally everything. That being said, if you are going into a STEM major or a pre-health major, I highly suggest, if it is financially possible, to invest in getting both a computer and an iPad. Yes, I know an iPad can act like a computer in some sources, but it really can't at the same time. As someone who also is trying to get more into YouTube and stuff, like, I can't do that on my iPad. I'm not gonna want to send all my emails and do all of my professional stuff on an iPad. But an iPad is really good for taking digital notes, especially when you're in class. A lot of professors give you digital notes or digital templates to take notes. If you're taking them on paper, which is what I started off doing, it's definitely possible, and I did it, but switching to an iPad let me utilize a lot more of the resources that my professors were able to give me, and I think that made me do better in my classes as well. I would suggest writing down notes and stuff no matter what, whether it's on paper or on an iPad. That's just not really possible on a computer. Even if your computer is touchscreen, that's not efficient whatsoever. Typing is good for like papers and writing like that, and writing stuff like that, not for writing notes. I'll just leave that there. At the end of the day, you're gonna do whatever is financially possible for you. And I know that some people that's not really an option. If you're a non-pre-health major, someone who's not going to have to be labeling body parts or like the brain or something like that, just get a computer. Lastly, we have friends and activities. There is definitely a lot of people that say that it takes a lot of time to find your people in college. I'd say that's true for some people and not true for others. Obviously, you have orientation in your first week of college. It's like everybody's trying to find friends. Like, you're literally the most social you'll ever be in your entire life that first week of college, because everyone's away from home, away from their hometown friends, and everybody's trying to just like find their place and feel like they belong. I feel like I definitely did that. I met a lot of people during my first week of college, but that does not mean I stayed in contact with any of them. It did take me a little bit to find my people in college, and I'd say that when I go back this year, I'm still going to be trying to find my people. I definitely found like 4 or 5 good friends that I know that I'm gonna keep as good friends besides my roommate, but I don't have like a big friend group. And I know others who literally went to college their first week, met everyone on their dorm floor, and that's literally their friend group, and it seems like they're gonna be best friends for life. So everybody's gonna have their own experience, but everybody's timelines are just gonna be a little bit different. Don't freak out about it though. I know that I definitely did. After the first semester, I was like, man, like I have one friend at college. Like, I know a lot of people, but I have like one friend that I hang out with. Like, and then I went back to school with an open mind. I went to more clubs. I talked to more people. And then you find people who have stuff in common with you. You start doing stuff outside your norm and finding new passions, new hobbies, and then that's where you're gonna find your people. That's where you're gonna find your friends. So just wait, let your life take its course, and just know that everyone's timelines are gonna be different, but at the end of the day, you're gonna end up finding those people. Also, participate in whatever interests you. I know that at the beginning of the year, for hopefully all schools, there is an engagement fair where literally all of the different clubs and activities that are available around campus come to literally one area and just have like a fair where you're able to walk around, and every 2 feet there's something for people, and it's like, join the club, join the club, join the club. I went to that. I think I picked up a flyer for probably like 20-25 clubs, and all of them sounded really interesting. No. Am I going to be able to be involved in 20 to 25 clubs? No. At the end of the day, on top of a rigorous schoolwork schedule, like, that's just not possible. But pick like 2, 3, 4, or 5 maybe that you're interested in, and just like get in the group me, there's a fly. Get in the group chats, you know, see if any of your other friends are doing any of these other clubs, and just show up. A lot of clubs are little to no commitment, so you can literally like go to one meeting. If you like it, go back. If you don't, then you decide that's not for you, and you can pick a different one, or try one of the other ones that you found interesting. This is the way that you're kind of able to find your niche, and again, find your place in your friends at college. Be a yes man. This is another one of my biggest pieces of advice, I think. I'm definitely someone who likes to have my life planned out, and it's like I have a vision of what my day is gonna look like, and if someone asks me to do something that's not on my plate that I kind of imagine myself to be doing for that day, I'm like really hesitant. But at the end of the day, like if I would have said no to half the things that I said yes to freshman year, I would not have had as much like fun and new experiences that I did. I definitely branched out a lot and had tons of fun when I was able to be a yes man and said yes. Obviously, don't give in to peer pressure because peer pressure is real. If your gut intuition is telling you like no, it's okay to say no sometimes. I know that like some of my friends would be like, oh, like let's go do this, let's go out, let's go to this club tonight, there's this going on, let's go out to eat, like. And sometimes I'd be like, no, like I have to study for this class. I have to get this done. I'll join you next time. And that's okay because at the end of the day, yes, school does come first. Your mental health does come first. Sleep does come first. But if it's just like one of those things where it's like, I don't know, just do it. Just do it. If you're with your friends, just do it. Like you're gonna take care of each other and you're gonna have a blast 9 times out of 10. Boys, let's talk a little bit about boys. I went into freshman year single and I am still single right now. So freshman year at Iowa is definitely a lot of partying. I'd say like a lot of guys are like, I don't want a relationship, I don't want to mess around, I want to go to parties, I want to be at the bar and be able to do whatever I want. And let's be honest, hookup culture nowadays is pretty big as well. So I'm not saying this is true for everyone, but they say the trend for freshman year at Iowa, and I know that Iowa's a big party school, so again, this can't be said for everywhere and everyone. It might be a little difficult, okay? Boy, finding a man might be a little difficult. So my advice would to focus on building strong friendship foundations first, trying to find your people and someone who aligns with like your beliefs and your values first. Focus on building those strong friendships and foundations first before you focus on finding a man. That's my biggest advice. At the end of the day, if you find someone and someone comes to you, back that, you know? I wish some of my flings freshman year would have turned out, but you know, alas. And the last piece of advice that I have for you guys is to stay true to yourself. At the end of the day, that's most important. You're gonna make so many memories and have the best time. I can just feel it, and I'm wishing all of you guys the best of luck. If you're going to Iowa, definitely reach out to me on socials. Like I said, I'm literally going to my second year and I'm still looking for friends, and I'm always down to meet new people. So either way, I'm wishing everyone the best. You're gonna have the best time. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Subscribe and like and stay tuned for more videos. See you in the next one.